I'm running late. The steady tick of my designer watch reminds me with each flick of the wrist as I navigate my new Audi through the tree-lined streets of my childhood neighborhood. My knuckles whiten against the steering wheel when my parents' six-bedroom colonial comes into view, its stately presence looming larger than the actual structure warrants. 28 years old, the youngest senior marketing director in my firm's history, and my stomach still knots like I'm 16 and missed curfew. I check my reflection in the rearview designer blazer crisp, makeup flawless, hair smoothed into submission, armor, all of it. The driveway is already full Brandon's Range Rover, Olivia's family SUV, Dad's Mercedes. I park on the street like a visitor, which is exactly what I am these days. 4 visits a year, each one more exhausting than the last. My heels click against the stamped concrete path to the door, the sound sharp and purposeful. I don't knock. I never do. This performative dance of belonging requires certain steps. There she is. Mom's voice carries from the kitchen as I slip inside. We were about to start without you. No hug, no direct eye contact. Just the familiar scent of roasting turkey and cranberry and the undercurrent of disapproval that has always scented the air when I'm present. Sorry, client emergency. The lie slips out easily. Better than admitting I sat in my car for 15 minutes, practicing deep breathing exercises. Always working. Dad appears in the hallway, bourbon in hand, eyes tracking my outfit with familiar appraisal. One of these days, you'll find something more important than that job. My smile stiffens but holds. Nice to see you too, Dad. I follow the sounds of conversation to the dining room, where Olivia is arranging flowers at the center of a table, glittering with Mom's best china and crystal. Brandon sprawls in a chair, phone in hand, barely glancing up as I enter. Savannah, Mom says, appearing behind me, go ahead and sit at the kids' table. We've got a spot for you there. The words hit like a physical blow. I turn slowly, certain I've misheard. But there it is, the plastic folding table set up in the corner of the dining room, ringed with colorful children's chairs and set with themed paper plates. My nieces and nephews aren't even there yet, still playing in the basement from the sounds of distant squeals. The kids' table? My voice emerges steady despite the heat rising in my cheeks. Mom's expression remains pleasant, unbothered. We need the space at the main table for Gregory's parents. They're joining us this year. She gestures to Olivia's in-laws, whom I've met exactly twice. I stand frozen, the memory of this morning's preparation washing over me. The care I took selecting this outfit. The extra time spent on my hair. The pep talk in my bathroom mirror. Just get through today. It's just 4 hours. My apartment had felt like a sanctuary this morning, the framed award on my desk, the notification of my promotion still open on my laptop. My friend Maya's voice on the phone. Why do you still go? Seriously, Savannah, what would happen if you just didn't? Now, trapped in the doorway between escape and humiliation, I consider objecting. My lips part, protest forming on my tongue. Brandon looks up from his phone, catching my expression. His eyes narrow slightly, a familiar look that says, don't make a scene. The same look he gave me when I tried to explain my first gallery showing, when I announced my promotion, when I bought my apartment without parental financial support. Fine. The word tastes bitter. I force my feet to move toward the children's table, acutely aware of every eye not watching me, of the deliberate conversations continuing as if this is normal. As if this isn't a statement written in plastic and paper. I lower myself into a chair meant for a child, knees nearly touching my chest, the edge of the table hitting at an awkward height that forces me to hunch. My niece's unicorn plate sits before me, the cartoon eyes seeming to mock my discomfort. The children filter in, eyes wide with confusion at finding an adult at their designated table. My 7-year-old nephew Ben tilts his head. Aunt Savannah, why are you sitting with us? I swallow hard. Just mixing things up. At the main table, conversation flows without interruption. Mom leans toward Olivia. How's the baby sleeping these days? Brandon, Dad's voice carries. Tell Gregory about that promotion. Glasses clink as my father raises his in a toast. To family success, he says, his gaze touching everyone but me. The adults murmur in agreement, a chorus I'm not part of. I watch them from my exile, the realization settling cold and heavy in my stomach. This table, this ridiculous, child-sized plastic throne eyes, the perfect symbol for my entire life in this family. Always adjacent, never included, tolerated, never celebrated. My 7-year-old niece Lucy bumps her juice cup, sending a purple wave across the table and directly onto my cream silk blouse. The cold seeps through immediately, grape juice bleeding into expensive fabric. Sorry, Aunt Savannah. Her little face crumples with genuine remorse. It's okay, sweetie. I dab at the spreading stain with a paper napkin, the material disintegrating against wet silk. Something breaks inside me not dramatically, but with a quiet finality, like ice shifting beneath the surface of a frozen lake. I stand up, the child's chair scraping against hardwood. I fold my paper napkin carefully, placing it beside the cartoon plate. Mom glances over, brow furrowing. Savannah, is something wrong with your seat? I don't answer. My steps are measured as I walk to the hallway closet and retrieve my coat. I can feel their eyes now, finally seeing me as I prepare to disappear. Some traditions aren't worth preserving. The door closes behind me with a soft click instead of the slam my trembling hands want to deliver. Restraint my lifelong companion. Savannah, where are you going? My mother's voice carries through the front window, that perfect pitch of controlled outrage that's fooled country club friends for decades. I turn, meeting her eyes through the glass. I'm leaving. Enjoy your dinner. Simple words. No dramatics. Just truth delivered without padding or apology. My hands shake as I slide the key into the ignition. The Audi purrs to life, its gentle vibration steadying me as I pull away from the curb. The silence in the car wraps around me, unfamiliar and terrifying. 28 years of family Thanksgivings, and I've never once left early. My phone buzzes before I reach the first stoplight. Then again. And again. By the time I'm 3 blocks away, the notifications have become a continuous hum against my thigh. My family's collective outrage transmitted through cellular waves. At a red light, I glance down. Brandon, stop acting like a child, come back. The irony would be amusing if it weren't so painful. I was literally sitting at a children's table 10 minutes ago, but I'm the one acting childish. My voicemail indicator flashes. I tap it, putting it on speaker while I drive. Savannah, my father's voice fills the car, bourbon rough. Enough of this nonsense. Get home now. Not a request a command issued to an underling, not a successful adult woman. 2 more texts arrive in quick succession. Olivia, Mom is freaking out. Just come back and talk. You're ruining dinner. The family group chat explodes with messages. What is going on with her? She's always been so sensitive. Should we be worried? This is so embarrassing with Gregory's parents here. My exit wasn't about creating a scene, but their responses reveal how thoroughly they misunderstand me. I don't want drama, I just wanted a place at the table. A real place. I drive without destination until neon lights catch my eye, a 24-hour diner glowing against the darkening November sky. The parking lot is half full, other holiday refugees seeking sanctuary from family obligations. The warmth hits me as I step into not just physical heat, but something more essential. The waitress looks up from wiping a counter, her eyes taking in my designer clothes. The mascara smudge I can feel beneath my right eye. Honey, you look like you could use some coffee. She doesn't ask what's wrong or why I'm alone on Thanksgiving, just slides a mug in front of me as I settle into a booth. And maybe a slice of pie, she adds, her smile genuine in a way my mother's never is. That would be perfect. My voice cracks on the words. While waiting, I scroll through my phone's photo gallery. Each swipe reveals another family gathering, where the pattern is clear once I allow myself to see it. Christmas 3 years ago. Everyone clustered around the tree while I stand slightly apart, half-cropped from the frame. My college graduation, my parents flanking my siblings in the foreground while I hold my honors diploma just out of focus. I screenshot a text from my mother from last year. How's that little job going? Still enjoying playing businesswoman? Senior marketing director? Youngest in company history. But in her eyes, I'm playing pretend. I find the email from my father, sent to Brandon and Olivia, but accidentally copying me. Investment opportunity too complex to include Savannah. You know she wouldn't understand it anyway. My calendar reveals the pattern 2-8 consecutive family events where I was seated at a side table, at the end of the row, or literally in another room. The pie arrives, golden crust and tart cherries, as I compose my message to the family group chat. I select the Christmas photo, the one where I'm half-cropped out, and type a caption. The perfect family, always making sure the youngest one knows her place. I continue typing. My fingers steady now. This isn't just about the table. I've been treated like an afterthought my entire life. When you all actually see me as an equal, let me know. My thumb hovers over the send button. This single action will fracture 28 years of acquiescence. Once sent, there's no pretending anymore. No more good daughter who swallows indignities with a smile. I press send, then power off my phone completely. The pie tastes better than any Thanksgiving meal I can remember. I savor each bite, leaving a generous tip before walking back to my car. My spine feels straighter, my shoulders lowered from their perpetual defensive hunch. Savannah? Savannah Reeves? I turned to find Mark Connolly, my lab partner from AP Chemistry, now a pediatrician according to the occasional social media glimpse. Mark, hi. He studies my face with professional assessment. You look different, lighter somehow. I smile, surprised to find it genuine. I finally put down something heavy I've been carrying for years. He nods like he understands, though he couldn't possibly know what transpired today. But maybe he recognizes the universal look of someone who's finally chosen themselves after years of self-abandonment. As I drive toward homie home, not theirs, I wonder what happens next. Will I withstand the guilt storm that's surely brewing? Will I cave when my mother cries or my father threatens? Or will this be the first day of a new chapter where I finally stand my ground? The night sky opens above me, vast and full of possibilities I never allowed myself to see, while squeezing into spaces too small to contain me. I drop my keys into the ceramic bowl by the door, a piece I bought from a local artist to celebrate my first promotion. The sound echoes through my apartment, bouncing off the exposed brick walls that I fell in love with 3 years ago when I signed the lease without a cosigner. Without my parents' approval. My designer blazer slides from my shoulders, heavy with the weight of today's confrontation. I hang it carefully in the closet, muscle memory preserving the expensive fabric, even as my mind races with the gravity of what I've done. I've never walked out before, not once in 28 years. My apartment glows with the warm light of success they refuse to acknowledge the framed marketing award on my office wall. The signed prints from campaigns that doubled client revenue, the sleek furniture I selected and purchased myself. No hand-me-downs. No parental subsidies. I kick off my heels and pad across the hardwood to the living room wall, where family photos hang in artful arrangement. Mom insisted I display them during her only visit, so you don't forget where you came from, Savannah. My fingers trace the gilt frame of last year's Christmas portrait, Brandon and Olivia flanking our parents, their spouses and children arranged in perfect formation. And Mess slightly off-center, half a step behind the group, my smile not quite reaching my eyes. I lift the frame and remove it from its hook. One by one, I take down each family photo, creating a stack on my coffee table. Not destroyed, just removed from my daily sightline. The wall looks strangely empty, but I feel fuller somehow. My phone sits dark and silent on the counter where I abandoned it hours ago. The notification light blinks accusing word, red, red. I leave it there and open a bottle of wine instead. Tonight, I sleep uninterrupted by family-induced anxiety for the first time in memory. No 3 a.m. spiral of imagined criticisms. No mental rehearsal of responses to potential jabs. Just darkness and peace, and the distant sound of city traffic below my window. Morning light streams through my eastern windows, painting golden patterns across my bedspread. I stretch, muscles relaxed in a way that feels foreign after years of tension. For a moment, I forget yesterday's upheaval and simply exist in the warmth. Then reality returns, and with it, a strange sensation in my chest. Not the familiar tightness of dread, but something lighter. Something that feels dangerously like freedom. I shower, dress in soft lounge clothes, and make coffee before approaching my phone. The blinking light has become frantic texts, calls, voicemails accumulating throughout the night. I take a deep breath and press the power button. The notifications flood my screen in a digital avalanche of family reaction. Dad, 6:42 p.m. Where did you go? Call your mother immediately. Dad, 7:15 p.m. Your mother is devastated. Fix this now. Mom, 6:38 p.m. Savannah, please come back. We're worried about you. Mom, 8:24 p.m. I don't understand why you're making this into such a big deal. It was just a table arrangement. Brandon, 7:03 p.m. Way to ruin dinner. Mom's upset and Dad's furious. Nice work. Brandon, 10:17 p.m. If you thought this would make us respect you more, you're wrong. You're acting like a child. Olivia, 6:55 p.m. Where are you? Mom's freaking out. Olivia, 8:42 p.m. Do you realize how selfish you're being? Mom can't stop crying. The messages escalate through the evening, concern morphing to anger, then outright threats. Dad's final text suggests reconsidering financial support I haven't received since college. My brother questions my mental stability. My sister invokes family loyalty as if it's a one-way obligation. I scroll through them with growing clarity, seeing the manipulation tactics laid bare. The guilt, the gaslighting, the collective rewriting of reality where I'm the villain for refusing to accept the unacceptable. Then a text from an unexpected sender stops my thumb mid-scroll. Emma, 13, Olivia's daughter. I get it, Aunt Sav. They make me feel invisible too. My breath catches. I read it 3 times, my niece's simple words cutting through the noise of adult accusations. She sees it too, the subtle exclusion, the dismissal of worth. My phone vibrates with an incoming call. The name surprises me. Aunt Vivian, Dad's sister, who disappeared from family gatherings years ago. The black sheep who chose career over children and paid the price in familial currency. Savannah? It's Vivian. Her voice sounds both foreign and familiar, a blood connection speaking through years of absence. Aunt Viv. It's been 6 years, I know. Your cousin Marcus showed me your message. About the kids' table. She pauses, her breath audible through the connection. I want you to know you're not crazy. The validation hits me like a physical force. I sink onto my couch, emotions threatening to overcome my careful composure. I went through the same thing when I chose career over kids, she continues. Your father and mother couldn't reconcile my choices with their worldview, so they simply reduced me. Made me smaller. Put me at the metaphorical kids' table until I stopped coming to dinner altogether. Memories surface of childhood questions about Aunt Vivian's absence. She doesn't care about family, was the standard response. A simple explanation that absolved everyone else of responsibility. I always wondered why you stopped visiting, I admit, voice barely above a whisper. Same reason you walked out yesterday. Dignity has a breaking point, Savannah. After we hang up, I pull my journal from the desk drawer and open to a blank page. At the top, I write boundaries in bold capitals, then begin listing them with surprising clarity. 1. I will only attend family gatherings where I'm treated as an equal adult. 2. I will no longer accept dismissive comments about my career. 3. I will meet on neutral ground, not the family home. The list grows, each boundary a brick in the foundation of my self-respect. When it's complete, I call my therapist for an emergency session. Then my friend Maya, who answers with immediate concern. I did it, I tell her. I finally walked out. Holy shit, Sav, she breathes. I'm so proud of you. 2 hours later, I find myself on an online forum for adults navigating family estrangement. The stories mirror mine with eerie similarity, the consistent exclusion, the subtle undermining, the moment of clarity that triggered action. I'm not alone in this experience. Not broken or overly sensitive. Just human, with normal human limits. By evening, I've compiled evidence of the pattern photos, text screenshots, a timeline of incidents spanning years. I practice responses to anticipated arguments. I'm not angry. I'm establishing boundaries. This isn't about one dinner. It's about a lifetime of exclusion. I'm not asking for special treatment, just equal treatment. I arranged to meet them at a coffee shop downtown public, neutral, time limited. I text Maya to check on me halfway through. My phone rings just after 9. Mom's name flashes on the screen. I let it ring 3 times, centering myself before answering. Hello, Mom. Savannah. Her voice is controlled, the practiced tone of someone who believes they hold the power. Your father and I have decided we're willing to forgive you for yesterday's display. The old Savannah would have accepted this opening, grateful for any path back to approval. But that version of me sat at a folding kids' table and accepted paper plates, while adults dined on china. I inhaled deeply, feeling my spine straighten. That's interesting, I reply, my voice steady and clear, because I'm still deciding if I'm willing to forgive you. The silence that follows stretches so long, I check to see if the call disconnected. But Nosha's there, breathing, recalibrating a world where her youngest daughter has suddenly, irrevocably changed the script. It was just a table, Savannah. My mother's voice through the phone carries that familiar dismissive tone, the one that's diminished my experiences since childhood. I grip my phone tighter, pacing the hardwood floors of my apartment. The space I bought myself, the life I built without their help or approval. It wasn't just a table, Mom. My voice remains steady, practiced from hours of rehearsal with my therapist. It was what the table represented. You're being dramatic. I'm being honest. I stopped pacing, standing tall beside the framed marketing award on my wall. The kids' table was just the final insult in a pattern that's existed my entire life. I tick off the evidence I've compiled in my journal. You excluded me from Brandon's investment group because, and I quote, "It's for people with real careers." You introduced Olivia as your successful daughter at the Christmas party last year while I stood right beside you. You've seated me away from adults at every family gathering since I turned 18. The silence on the other end stretches long enough that I check to see if she's hung up. That's not how it happened, she finally says, but her voice lacks its usual conviction. I have the texts, Mom. I have photos. I have emails. I trace my finger along the compass tattoo on my wrist me private reminder to follow my own direction. This isn't about one dinner. This is about 28 years of being treated as less than. She shifts to Gilther, next defensive tactic. After everything we've done for you, what exactly have you done for me lately? The question slips out sharper than intended, but I don't retract it. My apartment? Bought it myself? My education? Scholarship. My car? My savings. My career? Completely self-made. Another silence. Then, what do you want from us, Savannah? The question catches me off guard not because it's unexpected, but because it's the first time she's ever asked what I want. I want to be treated with the same respect you give Brandon and Olivia. My voice softens but remains firm. I want my achievements acknowledged. I want a seat at the actual table literally and figuratively. I hear her inhale sharply, and in that breath, I sense the first crack in her armor. She knows her usual tactics aren't working. My phone buzzes with a group text from Brandon that evening. Emergency family meeting tomorrow night. We need to discuss the Savannah situation. 7 p.m., Mom and Dad's. Savannah not invited. I smile despite myself. The family is scrambling. An hour later, my 13-year-old niece sends a screenshot of their living roomy parents, Brandon, and Olivia huddled in intense conversation. Her message reads, "They're freaking out, Aunt Sav. Dad keeps saying you're ruining the family." Grandma cried, "It's better than Netflix." The next morning, one of my father's golf buddies mentions the situation during a client meeting. "Robert says things are tense with your family right now," he says awkwardly. "Hope it all works out." When I check Facebook, my mother has posted a vague plea for prayers during this difficult family time. The comments flood with sympathetic responses, friends asking what happened, offering support without knowing the situation. They're losing control of the narrative, and it terrifies them. I spend 3 hours crafting my email. Each word precisely chosen, each example meticulously documented. I attach family photos spanning years images that clearly show the pattern of my exclusion. When finished, I address it to my entire extended family, not just my parents and siblings. I love you all, but I love myself enough to demand respect. I write in closing, then press send before doubt can creep in. Responses trickle in throughout the day. My cousin Michael. "I've watched this happen for years and never said anything. I'm sorry, Savannah." My father's sister who stopped attending family functions years ago. "It took courage to say what I never could. Proud of you, niece." Even my mother's best friend sends a private message. "Your mother and I have been friends for 30 years, but you're absolutely right. I've seen how they treat you." I hadn't expected allies. I'd prepared to stand alone. "Can we talk?" Olivia's voice sounds different on the phone. Smaller. I'm listening. I curl up in my reading chair, guard still up. "I've been thinking about things." She pauses. "About how we've treated you." I wait, refusing to fill the silence. "Greg mentioned something last night," she continues. "He said he's always been confused about why you're treated differently. He thought maybe there was some history I never told him." "And what did you say?" I couldn't think of a reason. Her voice cracked slightly. "I never thought about how it looked from your side. I just accepted that's how it was." It's not exactly an apology, but it's the first crack in the family's united front. When the formal invitation arrives in my email, I almost laugh out loud. The Reeves family requests the pleasure of your company for a family discussion dinner. Seating arranged by Savannah Reeves. The location is a neutral restaurant downtown, not the family home where they hold home court advantage. The time works with my schedule, not theirs. Every detail acknowledges my new position of power. I smile as I type my response. I accept. For the first time in my life, they're playing by my rules. Now I'll discover if my family is capable of genuine change, or if I'll need to create a life without them in it. The ball is finally in my court, and I'm ready to serve. I arrive at Marcello's 20 minutes early, my heels clicking against polished marble as the hostess leads me to the table I specifically requested when making the reservation. Round. Equal. No head, no foot, no hierarchy built into the furniture itself. Perfect, I tell her, sliding my blazer from my shoulders. The material is expensive, a power color that makes my skin glow. Armor again, but different this time. Battle dress rather than camouflage. I place the name cards with deliberate care. My fingers don't tremble at all, which surprises me. My position at the symbolic north. Parents flanking me. Brandon and Olivia across. The geography of confrontation, mapped with cardstock and calligraphy. The restaurant hums with quiet conversation. The discreet clinking of silverware against fine china. I check my watch. 7 minutes. I smooth my napkin across my lap, straighten the butter knife that's already perfectly aligned. 6 minutes. I resist the urge to reach for my phone, to check for a last-minute cancellation text. When they arrive together, of course I don't stand. Savannah. Mom's voice wavers between greeting and question. Dad's eyes narrow as they scan the table arrangement, the placed cards. Brandon's jaw tightens. Olivia clutches her purse strap a fraction tighter. Thank you for coming, I say, my voice steady. Professional. The voice I use in boardrooms, not family dining rooms. Please, sit. They hesitate, caught in the unfamiliar dynamic, but then one by one, they follow my direction. Not one of them questions the seating arrangement. First victory. Dad clears his throat as soon as they've settled, launching into what sounds like a rehearsed speech. I think we all agree that family unity is what matters most here. We need to incident and focus on healing together. Your father's right, Mom adds, her eyes already glistening with practiced tears. This has been devastating for all of us, Savannah. We've always been such a close family. Brandon leans forward, elbows on the table. Some people are just more sensitive than others. Not everything needs to be a federal case. What Brandon means, Olivia jumps in, her smile tight, is that we all love you, and surely we can find a middle ground without all this drama. I take a sip of water, letting the silence stretch until they grow uncomfortable in it. I've prepared for this exact moment, rehearsed it in my bathroom mirror until the words feel natural. I'd like to establish some ground rules for our conversation, I say, placing my glass down precisely on its water ring. Each person speaks only for themselves. No one interrupts. And we focus on specific behaviors, not character assessments. Dad starts to object, but I hold up my hand. He stops mid-syllable. Second victory. For 28 years, I've been systematically excluded from full participation in this family. The children's table at Thanksgiving was simply the most literal manifestation of a pattern that's existed my entire adult life. I meet each of their eyes in turn. Can anyone explain why a 28-year-old successful woman should sit at a children's table? The silence that follows is devastating in its completeness. Mom's fingers worry at her napkin. Dad examines his water glass as if it holds answers. Brandon shifts uncomfortably. Olivia stares at her lap. I guess, Mom finally says, her voice small. I never really saw you as fully adult without a husband. That's how I was raised. A woman becomes a woman when she has a family of her own. Dad's admission comes gruffly. In my day, success meant family, not just career. I built something that will outlast me. Your job. It's just not the same. Maybe, Brandon adds, surprising me with his hesitancy. I've been intimidated by how easily everything comes to you. You didn't need connections or Dad's help like I did. It was easier to dismiss your achievements than admit that. Olivia's eyes shine with actual tears now, not the performative ones she usually deploys. I knew it wasn't fair, how we treated you. But changing it meant acknowledging my part in it. She reaches across the table, stops short of touching my hand. I'm sorry, Savannah, truly. I absorbed their words, feeling something shift inside me. Not forgiveness exactly, but recognition. The first honest conversation we've had in decades. Moving forward, I say, my voice firm but not unkind. I need certain boundaries respected. I will participate in family gatherings as an equal adult. My career and life choices will be respected, even if they're not understood. I expect acknowledgement of my achievements the same way Brandon's and Olivia's are celebrated. I fold my hands on the table. I want a relationship with all of you, but it has to be mutual respect or nothing at all. I won't hesitate to walk away again if old patterns reemerge. They exchange glances, having a silent conversation I've been excluded from countless times before. Finally, Dad nods. "You've certainly grown up, Savannah," he says, the closest thing to approval I've ever heard from him. I meet his gaze steadily. "I've been grown. You're just finally seeing it." The check arrives, placed exactly between Dad and me. I reach for it before he can, sliding my credit card inside the leather folder without checking the amount. The symbolism isn't lost on any of us. When the waiter walks away, Mom touches my wrist hesitantly. "Do you think it's really possible to change how we've always been?" The question hangs in the air between us, honest in a way I never expected. I don't have a simple answer, and for once, I don't try to manufacture one. Is it ever really possible to change decades-old family dynamics? Or am I setting myself up for disappointment? My kitchen bustles with movement and conversation, a symphony of life that fills my apartment. The scent of roasting turkey mingles with cranberry and fresh herbs, familiar yet somehow new. I check my designer watch, no longer counting the minutes until escape, but noting that everything is right on schedule. "Aunt Savannah, is this enough sage for the stuffing?" Lucy stands on a step stool beside me, her 13-year-old hands carefully measuring herbs. "Perfect." I squeeze her shoulder. "You've got a natural talent for cooking." The dining table stretches through the living area of my apartment, a single expansive surface with chairs for everyone. No plastic folding tables in sight. No exile to the corner. Mom appears at my elbow, casserole dish in hand. "Where would you like this, Savannah?" The question still catches me off guard, even a year later. "On the sideboard, please. We'll bring everything to the table together." She follows my direction without comment, placing her famous green bean casserole exactly where I've indicated. The small victory still feels monumental. Dad hovers near my wine rack, bourbon untouched in his hand. "That advertising campaign you developed for the Children's Hospital, quite impressive. My golf partner's son works in marketing at NYU. He mentioned it." I don't miss how he struggles to maintain eye contact, how his fingers tap against his glass. But the words are genuine. "Thanks, Dad. It increased donations by 37%. Brandon appears from the living room, phone absent for once. "Savannah, got a minute? I'm considering a lateral move to Thompson & Brooks. The pay cut would be temporary, but the creative opportunities." He trails off, uncertainty flickering across his face. I nearly drop the serving spoon, Brandon asking me for career advice. "It depends on your 5-year plan. Thompson's digital division is expanding rapidly." Olivia approaches, her newest edition cradled against her shoulder. "Would you mind holding her while I help set up? She's been fussy all morning, but she seems to like you." Without waiting for an answer, she places the infant in my arms. Not as an afterthought babysitter, but as a trusted equal. The weight feels right somehow. "We understand each other, don't we?" I whisper to the baby, who blinks solemnly up at me. "This place is gorgeous," Dad comments, gesturing around my apartment. "Smart investment in this neighborhood." Mom reappears from the dining area, measuring spoons in hand. "Savannah, could you sit the children?" She freezes mid-sentence, color draining from her face. The room goes silent. Every eye turns toward us. Mom swallows, then corrects herself. "Actually, I'd love your help arranging everyone together. You always know exactly where people should be." Our eyes meet, understanding passing between us. "Happy to," I reply, accepting both her correction and what it represents. My best friend Maya emerges from the guest bathroom, her presence alongside my family no longer strange but essential. My father's sister absent from family gatherings for nearly a decade chats comfortably with Olivia's in-laws near the window. I catch my niece explaining to Maya's daughter. "My aunt taught us about boundaries," her voice swelling with pride. Slipping away for a moment, I stand alone in my kitchen. Last year's humiliation at the kids' table flashes through my mind: the plastic chair, the cartoon plate, the physical manifestation of how they saw me. I pull my gratitude journal from the drawer and write a single line. "Today I sat at the table I deserve." When we gather for the meal, hands linked around my table, Dad asks what we're each thankful for. When my turn comes, I say simply, growth, in all of us. The glances exchanged around the table speak volumes. Some traditions deserve to be broken, so better ones can be built. My place card stands at the head of the table, my name written in my own hand.
My feet drag across the hallway carpet of my apartment building as I fumble for my keys. After a 12-hour double shift at Westfield Grill, my back aches, my chef's whites reek of fryer oil, and all I want is the silence of my empty apartment. But the sound of laughter and clinking glasses hits my ears before I even slide the key into the lock. I freeze. Key suspended. Someone's in my apartment. The lock clicks open, and I push the door wide. My stomach plummets. 6 strangers sprawl across my living room furniture, drinks in hand. Music thumps from my small Bluetooth speaker. And through the open concept layout, I spot my kitchen, my sanctuary completely destroyed. Daphne! Lillian's voice cuts through the chaos. My younger sister bounces toward me, wine glass sloshing dangerously close to the rim. You're home early. Early? It's nearly midnight. I move past her without a word, drawn to the disaster zone that was once my meticulously organized kitchen. Wine bottles litter the countertops. Someone has used my hand-forged Japanese santoku knife to cut limes on the marble surface, leaving deep gouges in the blade. My cast-iron skillet, the one I've seasoned for 3 years, sits in the sink, submerged in soapy water. What have you done? My voice comes out as a whisper. We're just having a little fun, Daph. Lillian waves dismissively. Don't be so uptight. That's when I spot it. Grandma Miller's handwritten recipe book lies open on the counter, pages warped and stained dark red with wine. The ink bleeds across recipes passed down 3 generations, turning them into abstract watercolors. I touch the sodden pages with trembling fingers. This can't be fixed. The memory rises unbidden, Mom and Dad standing in this very kitchen 6 months ago, insisting I give them a spare key for emergencies only. I'd hesitated, but their hurt expressions wore me down. We're family, Daphne, Dad had said. Don't you trust us? 3 weeks later, I came home from a late shift to find Lillian asleep on my couch, empty wine bottles on my coffee table. My roommate had company, she'd explained with a yawn. I needed somewhere to crash. Then it became a pattern. Lillian dropping by whenever I worked nights. My specialty ingredients imported vanilla beans, saffron threads, aged balsamic, disappearing without replacement. My kitchen gradually becoming community property. Last month, I'd confronted my parents after finding evidence of another impromptu gathering. Dad's dismissive attitude still stings. That kitchen belongs to family too, Daphne. Don't be so selfish. Mom had nodded in agreement. Lillian's just social, dear. You could learn from her. Always the responsible one. Always expected to give in. Always watching Lillian get away with anything while I built my life careful brick by careful brick. A crash yanks me back to the present. Someone has knocked over a stack of copper measuring cups. They roll across the floor like dropped coins. Everyone out! My voice cuts through the chatter. Now. The strangers look at me, then at Lillian, unsure. It's only 11 p.m., Lillian exclaims with theatrical shock. God, you're such a buzzkill. This is my home. My hands tremble, but my voice holds steady. My kitchen. My things that you've destroyed. Oh please, it's hardly destroyed. Out. Lillian's friends gather their belongings, muttering as they file past me. One guy tries to take a half-full wine bottle. I snatch it from his hand without a word. You're overreacting. Lillian pulls out her phone. I'm calling Mom and Dad. For a second, old habits threaten to surface. The urge to back down, to apologize, to keep the peace. Then my gaze falls on my chef's knife sitting in a puddle of something sticky. The handle is cracked, the knife Chef Thomas gave me when I graduated culinary school. A cook's knife is her voice in the kitchen, he'd said. Something inside me hardens. Go ahead, call them. I pick up the ruined knife, turning it in the light. But when you're done, you're leaving too. Lillian's eyes widen. She's never seen this version of me before, the one who doesn't bend, the one who doesn't make excuses for her. The stranger who finally sees through the lifetime of manipulation. You can't kick me out. I'm your sister. Watch me. I push her outside and slam the door. Have you ever had that moment when something inside you just snaps? When you realize you've been taken advantage of for far too long? The moment you finally understand that the people who should love you the most have been using that love as a weapon against you? I was about to find out what happens when you finally stand your ground. A week after the incident, I was invited to my parents' house for dinner. My aunt was there as well, carefully watching the situation unfolding. The scent of pot roast hits me the moment I step into my parents' suburban home for Sunday dinner. Mom's been making the same meal on rotation for 20 years. Pot roast means she wants something. Daphne. Just in time. Dad's voice booms from the dining room where crystal and glasses already sparkle with wine. His car dealership smile is in full force, the one that appears when he's about to pitch a customer the extended warranty. Mom bustles from the kitchen, wiping hands on her floral apron. There you are, honey. Lillian's been here for an hour already. Of course she has. Lillian lounges at the table, scrolling through her phone, not bothering to look up. Hey, Daff, she murmurs, one finger still swiping. I take my assigned seat, same chair since I was 12, and notice the thick manila folder placed conspicuously next to Dad's water glass. Red flag. So, Dad begins, before I've even unfolded my napkin, we've been talking about a business opportunity. Mom practically vibrates with excitement as she serves the pot roast. Richard, let her eat first. No time like the present, Eleanor. He leans forward, elbows on the table. Daphne, you know how you've always wanted to work in a real restaurant? I set down my fork. I do work in a real restaurant. Dad waves this away. A line cook job isn't what I mean. We're talking about something you can build, a legacy. Lillian finally looks up, a strange smile playing at her lips. Dad slides the manila folder toward me. We've been exploring options for you to legally register a small restaurant. For me? For me? Something cold settles in my stomach. For the family, Mom corrects, taking her seat. Your culinary expertise combined with Lillian's business acumen. Dad beams. Exactly. You handle the kitchen, and Lillian will be the manager and face of the operation. She'll handle the customers, marketing, all that front-of-house business. I never said I wanted. You're good at cooking, Dad interrupts, but managing is Lillian's strength. This way, it's fair. Fair. The word lands like a slap. I open the folder and freeze. Inside are printed real estate listings with Dad's handwriting in the margins. Available immediately, good foot traffic, reasonable lease terms. You've been looking at locations? The pot roast congeals on my plate untouched. Just preliminary research, Mom says. Nothing definite yet. Lillian slides her phone across the table. Check out my Pinterest board. I've been collecting ideas for months. The screen shows a board titled, Our Restaurant, with hundreds of pins. The oldest dates back 4 months. My fingers go numb as I scroll through images of restaurant interiors, menu designs, and staff uniforms, all chosen without a single conversation with me. There's more, Dad says, pulling another paper from the folder. We've started the loan application process. Just need your signature since you're the one with the culinary background. My signature, my credit, my responsibility if it fails. But not my vision. We've told everyone at church, Mom adds, refilling wine glasses. The whole family is so excited about the girls' restaurant venture. When exactly were you planning to ask if I wanted this? My voice comes out quieter than intended. Dad's eyebrows rise. This is how family businesses work, Daphne. We all have our roles. You cook excellent food, and Lillian handles the business end. Don't you want us to be close again? Lillian asks, voice honey sweet. Like when we were kids? Remember how we used to play restaurant with your easy bake oven? The memory twists in my chest. What she doesn't mention is how she always made me cook while she collected the Monopoly money from our stuffed animal customers. I need some air. I push back from the table and step onto the back porch, the cool evening air a relief against my flushed skin. The sliding door opens behind me. Not Mom or Dad's heavy steps, but the lighter tread of Aunt Margaret, Mom's sister. She was quiet during the gathering, but I suppose she has another plan. I figured this might happen tonight, she says, joining me at the railing. They've been talking about nothing else for weeks. Did everyone know about this except me? Aunt Margaret sighs. They've always done this to you. Used your talents while giving Lillian the spotlight. I turn to her, surprised. What do you mean? Your mother did the same thing to me when we were young. She touches my arm. I designed all her prom dresses, but she told everyone she made them herself. The parallel lands hard. I don't know what to do. Your talent is yours alone, Daphne. Don't let them convince you otherwise. She squeezes my hand. And if you need a place to stay for a while, my guest room is yours. A place to stay? Why would I? The sliding door opens again. Dad stands there, backlit by the dining room light. We're waiting on you to continue our discussion, Daphne. Back inside, they've cleared dinner plates. The loan application sits squarely at my place setting, a pen resting on top. Your mother and I co-signed your lease, honey, Dad says casually as I sit. Remember that. The threat isn't even thinly veiled. Mom pats my hand. Your schedule at the restaurant would allow you to handle the kitchen while Lillian takes the important client meetings. The investors are expecting to meet both Miller sisters next week, Lillian adds. I've already confirmed. I look around the table at these familiar faces now revealed as strangers. They've planned my entire future without a single question about what I want. The weight of their expectations crushes against my chest. I need time to think about this. I stand, gathering my purse. Don't overthink it, Dad says. This is what families do: support each other. Support. As if this elaborate scheme to harness my culinary skills for Lillian's benefit could be called support. Aunt Margaret catches my eye across the table. Her slight nod steadies me. Family can be our greatest support, or our heaviest burden. As I drive home, the loan application untouched in the back seat, I wonder, how many others have sat at their family table and realized the price of belonging was surrendering their dreams. 2 days after the ambush, my phone buzzed for the 5th time this morning. Dad again. I let it ring until voicemail picks up, knowing exactly what he wants to discuss. Restaurant details. That's what they're calling their plan to use my culinary school credentials while giving Lillian the spotlight. A text follows immediately. Daphne, your mother found the perfect location on Adams Avenue. Meeting the realtor at 2. Be there. Not a request, a command. As if I've already agreed to this entire scheme. The buzzing continues all morning. Mom calls about recipe modifications to make them more commercial, dear. Lillian texts about potential investors she's bringing by my apartment tomorrow, without asking. Again. I'm chopping onions for my dinner prep when Mrs. Henderson from church calls. Just wanted to congratulate you on the restaurant. Your father announced it during fellowship hour. So proud of you girls finally working together. My knife slips, nearly catching my finger. He announced it? Oh yes, dear. His girls opening a restaurant. The whole congregation is thrilled. Lillian even showed everyone some logo designs on her phone. Your name was on them too. The world tilts sideways. I thank her automatically and hang up, my hands shaking so badly I have to put the knife down. They're creating a reality I never agreed to, building walls around me brick by brick until I have no choice but to surrender. Later that evening, my phone rings with an unfamiliar number. I almost ignore it, assuming it's another family friend calling to congratulate me, but something makes me answer. Is this Daphne Miller? A woman's crisp voice, professionally warm. Yes, speaking. This is Valerie Chambers, executive assistant to Chef Thomas Anderson at Ember. We received your resume last month. Chef Anderson would like to interview you tomorrow morning if you're available. My heart stutters. Ember is the prestigious new restaurant opening downtown. I'd sent my resume on a whim last month, never expecting a call back. Yes, absolutely yes. The Ember kitchen gleams with purpose the next morning. No clutter, no chaos, just the quiet precision of professional chefs preparing for service. Chef Anderson is tall and serious, his eyes missing nothing as I prepare my signature scallop dish during the working interview. He watches without comment until I plate, then takes a single bite. His expression remains neutral, but something shifts in his eyes. Your flavor profiles are extraordinary, Daphne. The validation feels foreign, almost uncomfortable. No comparison to Lillian. No dismissal of my career as just cooking. Just recognition of what I can do. I need a head chef. Someone with your technical skills and palate. He leans against the counter. Creative control of the menu. Your name featured prominently. Proper salary and benefits. I stand paralyzed, unable to process what I'm hearing. But there must be more qualified chefs in San Diego. I've interviewed 12. None understand balance like you do. He slides a contract across the counter. Take the weekend to think about it. When I return to my apartment, Lillian is waiting outside my door with a large portfolio tucked under her arm. She doesn't wait for an invitation, breezing past me as I unlock the door. Finally! I've been waiting forever. She spreads fabric swatches across my coffee table. These are for the banquets. I'm thinking the burgundy velvet, but Mom likes the charcoal. I set my keys down carefully. Lillian, when did I ever say yes to any of this? She doesn't even look up. We have meetings with 3 banks next week for the small business loans. Dad says your credit score will help with the terms. Lillian, stop. My voice carries an edge I've never used with her before. I haven't agreed to open a restaurant with you. She finally glances up, blinking in genuine confusion. We've been planning this for months. You've been planning. I've been avoiding the conversation. She rolls her eyes dramatically. Oh, please. Like you had better options. Being a line cook forever? This is your chance to actually be somebody. The truth hits me like cold water. They never believed in my talent or ambition. They never saw me capable of success, without Lillian's charisma or Dad's business connections. I interviewed at Ember today. They offered me head chef position. Lillian's laugh is sharp. Right. And I'm opening for Taylor Swift next week. I pull out my phone, showing her Chef Anderson's follow-up email with salary details. Her face falls as she reads, color draining from her cheeks. But, our restaurant. But, your restaurant, I correct her. On my credentials, with my liability if it fails. That evening, Aunt Margaret calls. I heard from your mother that you're being difficult about the restaurant. I brace for more pressure. Instead, she says, good for you. I know a small business attorney who can help you formally decline involvement. My treat. The floodgates open. I tell her everything, the exploitation, the assumptions, Chef Anderson's offer. Your father pulled the same stunt with your mother 30 years ago. She reveals. Used her nursing license to open his first dealership while giving her no real authority, history repeating itself. The next day, my culinary school mentor calls. I heard you might be settling for less than you deserve. Any truth to that? Word travels fast in professional kitchens. When I explain the situation to my coworkers during prep, they close ranks around me with protective fury. The headline cook offers his brother's services to change my locks. The pastry chef invites me to stay at her place if things get ugly. For the first time, I see an alternative family forming around me, one that values what I bring to the table instead of what they can take from it. That night, alone in my kitchen, I cook. Not for others, not for approval, just for the pure chemistry of it. As the flavors build and transform, understanding washes over me. My kitchen was never just about food. It was about control in a life where I had so little, the one space where my decisions mattered. The next morning, I call the locksmith. By afternoon, new keys sit heavy and powerful in my palm. Then I dial Chef Anderson's number. I'd like to accept your offer. The certainty in my voice surprises even me. For once, I'm making a decision solely for myself. The week blurs as I sign my contract, quietly retrieve personal items from my parents' house, and work with Aunt Margaret's lawyer to draft a simple statement declining family business involvement. We prepare responses for every manipulation tactic they might employ at the family meeting they've scheduled for Tuesday next week, the meeting where they expect me to finalize my agreement to their plan. On Monday, my phone constantly buzzes with excited messages. From Dad, proud of you, kiddo. Signed the lease today. Big announcement tomorrow. Mom leaves a voicemail about the invitation list for a soft opening. Lillian sends a group text to her friends about my sister and I finally making our dream come true. I place the signed Ember contract carefully in my bag. The weight of the paper feels like armor. My reflection in the hallway mirror shows someone I barely recognize, someone with quiet strength in her eyes, as she grabs her car keys and heads to her parents' house. Sometimes the hardest thing and the right thing are the same. Have you ever had to make a decision that you knew would disappoint your family but was necessary for your own well-being? Share your experience below. The next day, at the Tuesday meeting, the incorporation papers sit in the center of my parents' oak dining table like a trap waiting for spring. Around me, excited chatter bounces off walls that have witnessed 35 years of Miller family manipulation. My father beams. My mother clasps her hands in delight. Lillian tosses her hair, accepting congratulations for a restaurant she hasn't earned. The contractor says we can start renovations next week. Dad announces, slapping his palm against blueprints I've never seen. Your mother's church friends are already booking the private room for their gatherings. I sit perfectly still, hands folded in my lap, watching them orchestrate my future without my input. The graphic designer, some college friend of Lillian's, flips open his laptop. Here's the final logo. He turns the screen toward me. Lillian's dominates an elegant script. Beneath it, in text barely larger than fine print, Kitchen by Daphne. The room falls quiet, all eyes turning to me for the expected grateful tears. Just need your signature, honey. Dad slides the incorporation papers toward me, his Mont Blanc pen extended like a scepter. Then we can celebrate properly. I look at the pen, then at each family member's expectant face. I won't be part of this, I say, my voice steady despite the adrenaline coursing through me. I've already accepted a position as head chef at Ember last week. The silence that follows feels like the moment after glass shatters. This is just a phase. My father recovers first, dismissing my career as he's done my entire life. Head chef at someone else's restaurant is nothing compared to owning your own. My mother's eyes immediately fill with tears. After all we've done for you. She presses a tissue to her face, a performance I've seen countless times. Lillian stands so quickly her chair scrapes against hardwood. You're just jealous it wasn't your idea. Her voice pitches higher with each word. We've already invested so much. You can't back out now. Dad pulls out his phone. I'm calling Uncle Robert. He needs to hear how you're abandoning your sister's dream at the last minute. I watch him dial with theatrical outrage. In my pocket, my phone vibrates. Glancing down, I see Lillian's vague Instagram post already accumulating sympathetic comments. Family can break your heart when you least expect it. The coordinated attack unfolds exactly as I predicted. My father's voice rises as he recounts my betrayal to extended family. My mother steps into the kitchen, no doubt texting her church friends about her selfish daughter. The familiar weight of family shame presses down, except this time, it doesn't crush me. The front door opens, and Aunt Margaret strides in without knocking. I figured you might need backup, she says, squeezing my shoulder before addressing the room. Have any of you even tasted Daphne's food lately? She's brilliant. My phone buzzes again. A text from Chef Anderson. Team's excited to have you on board Monday. Below it, notifications from culinary school classmates commenting on my LinkedIn update about the new position. I've already signed a contract. I explain calmly, drawing the document from my bag, which means I can't legally enter another business arrangement that would create a conflict of interest. Dad's face reddens, but the lease is in your name, I finish for him. As is the loan application. As are all the commitments you've made without my consent. Lillian steps toward me, mascara smudging beneath her eyes. What am I supposed to do now? I stand, gathering my belongings. That's not my problem to solve. But you were always the responsible one we could count on, my mother blurts, then immediately looks down. My father runs a hand through his thinning hair. Lillian's not equipped to handle this alone. I need your name on this to get the loans. Lillian's voice cracks, finally revealing the truth. Not a partner, a guarantor, not a chef collateral. The realization settles over me with strange clarity. They never wanted my talent or input, just my signature and my labor. I've spent my entire life being responsible for Lillian's dreams while putting mine aside. I say, rising from the table. That ends today. Aunt Margaret wraps an arm around my shoulders as we walk toward the door. You can't walk away from family, my father calls after me, his voice smaller than I've ever heard it. I turn back one last time. I'm not walking away from family. I'm walking toward self-respect. Outside, the evening air feels clean against my face. My hands should be shaking, but they're surprisingly steady. Aunt Margaret gives me a sideways glance as we reach my car. That moment when you finally stand up for yourself can be both terrifying and liberating, she says quietly. Was it worth it? I look back at the house where I've spent decades diminishing myself to fit their expectations. Through the window, I can see them still sitting at the table, the abandoned papers between them. Every second, I answer, and mean it. The doorbell rings at exactly 7 o'clock Sunday evening. I've been expecting them. Through the peephole, I see my father standing rigidly in the hallway, my mother nervously smoothing her cardigan. Behind them, Lillian dabs at red-rimmed eyes with a tissue. The surprise is Grandma Miller, leaning on her wooden cane, looking confused. A calculated ambush. Bringing Grandma was their nuclear option. I open the door, my face carefully neutral. This is unexpected. We need to talk about what you're doing to this family, my father says, his car salesman voice already activated. Your grandmother insisted on coming when she heard how upset Lillian's been. Grandma reaches for my hand. I don't understand what's happening, Daphne. Everyone's so upset. Please, come in. I step aside, allowing them into my apartment. The space looks different now, rearranged, reclaimed. Security cameras discreetly mounted in corners. New locks gleaming on the door. My mother notices immediately. You changed the locks? I did. I guide Grandma to the most comfortable chair. I have something prepared. Please, sit down. My kitchen island holds an array of small plates, 5 distinct dishes arranged with professional precision. Each represents a component of the tasting menu I've developed for my position as head chef. What's all this? My father waves dismissively at the food. My work. Please. Try it. Lillian remains standing, arms crossed. We didn't come here to eat, Daphne. We came because you've ruined everything I've worked for. Her voice cracks on cue. The investors pulled out when they learned you wouldn't be involved. My father steps closer. Your mother and I co-signed your lease. Remember that. The threat hangs in the air between us. Sit down, I say again, pulling out stools. Or leave. Those are your options. Something in my voice, perhaps the complete absence of apology, makes them hesitate. They exchange glances before slowly taking seats around my kitchen island. I move through my kitchen with practiced efficiency, plating the final touches on each dish. The space feels different, now sacred. Mine. I serve each person, describing the components with professional detachment. Seared scallop with brown butter and sage, wild mushroom risotto with truffle oil, braised short rib with red wine reduction. Grandma Miller takes a bite of the scallop. Her eyes widen, then close in appreciation. This is extraordinary, Daphne. My mother picks at her food. It's very nice, dear, but we need to discuss. I'm not finished. I retrieve a folder from the counter and open it between us. I have been gathering pieces of proof against my family for a long time. Security camera footage from the past 3 months. 27 unauthorized entries to my apartment while I was working. I slide printed stills across the counter. Lillian's parties. Kitchen destruction. My personal property damaged. My father pushes the photos away. Family doesn't need permission. Text messages. I place my phone between us, scrolling through Lillian's texts to friends. Using my sister's fancy apartment again tonight. She's working till midnight. Their faces change as I continue. Loan applications with forged signatures. My signature. That's fraud, Dad. I place the paperwork before him. A statement from my apartment manager about noise complaints during my absence. The kitchen falls silent except for Grandma, who continues eating, making small sounds of pleasure. You never saw me as a person with dreams, I say, my voice steady despite the heat rising in my chest, just as a useful tool for Lillian's ambitions. A signature on paperwork, free labor, a kitchen to use when convenient. I remove my house key from the ring and place it on the counter. No more emergencies, no more unannounced visits. My boundaries are non-negotiable from this point forward. Respect them or don't be in my life. That's your choice. My father sits stunned into silence for perhaps the first time in his life. My mother stares at me like she's seeing a stranger. You've always been the favorite anyway. Lillian suddenly bursts out, mascara streaming down her cheeks. They've always bragged about your cooking while I couldn't find my thing. That's not true, Lillian. My mother starts, but Grandma's voice cuts through. It's about time someone told them the truth. Grandma sets down her fork with a decisive clink. Richard, Eleanor, you've used this girl shamelessly for years. I've watched it happen. My parents exchange panicked glances. This wasn't in their script. We should go, my father mumbles, standing abruptly. My mother follows, tugging at Lillian's arm. I'm staying a while, Grandma announces. Daphne and I have catching up to do. They leave in disarray, the door clicking shut behind them. The apartment feels lighter somehow, as if their departure has altered the air pressure. Grandma reaches for my hand across the counter. Your grandfather would be so proud. He never let anyone take his work for granted either. She opens her large purse and unwraps something from layers of cloth. A chef's knife with a well-worn wooden handle gleams in the kitchen light. His favorite. I've been saving it. She places it in my hands. For the right moment. For the right Miller. The knife feels perfectly balanced, its edge still keen after decades. A proper tool passed to hands that would honor it. Thank you, I whisper, running my finger along the spine. Family patterns can be broken with courage, Grandma says, lifting her glass in a toast. And sometimes the greatest act of love is setting a boundary that everyone must respect. 6 months later, I slide the tray of sage-crusted lamb chops into the oven, checking the time. 2 hours until service begins at Anderson's, but the kitchen already hums with precision. My sous chef finishes the sauce reduction exactly as I need it. My standards have elevated this kitchen, and they rise to meet me. Chef Miller, that writer from San Diego Cuisine, is here again. Marcus calls, wiping his hands on his apron. Said your autumn tasting menu deserves another feature. 4 months as head chef, and already the locals know my name. Not because I'm Richard Miller's daughter or Lillian's sister, but because my food speaks its own language. Customers specifically request Chef Miller's special, and my team executes my vision without question. The quiet satisfaction feels nothing like the approval I once chased from my family. 6 months after standing my ground, I find myself in another kitchen entirely teaching an evening class at my old culinary school. A student struggles with the emulsion technique I once fumbled under my father's impatient watch. "Take your time," I tell her, demonstrating the gentle wrist motion again. Rushing only breaks the sauce. Watching her succeed where I once failed, something clicks into place. I've broken more than just an old family pattern. I've created space for others to learn without shame. The realization warms me more than any family praise ever did. Sunday dinners still happen, but on my terms. Last week, my father actually nodded when I mentioned the local restaurant award. "Saw that in the paper," he said, something like respect in his voice for the first time. My mother surprised me, asking about my signature techniques without once mentioning how Lillian might improve them. "Small steps, but progress." "You showed them who you really are," Aunt Margaret whispered before leaving. "That's the hardest battle anyone fights." The text from Lillian comes unexpectedly one Tuesday morning. "I was wrong for using you. I want to start fresh." We meet at a coffee shop downtown, no parents buffering the space between us. Her hands fidget with her napkin. "I've been riding your coattails my whole life," she admits, eyes finally meeting mine. "It was easier than finding my own way." She shows me her acceptance letter to a hospitality management program, then mentions her junior manager position at a small bistro. "It's entry level, but it's mine. Esther." The gathering in my apartment weeks later feels nothing like the invasion that started everything. Colleagues mingle with Aunt Margaret while my grandmother samples each appetizer with deliberate appreciation. When Lillian arrives, her homemade crostini looks lopsided but earnest. "The texture's close," I say, showing her how to adjust the bread thickness. The same kitchen, completely different energy. My parents' call before visiting now a small victory that feels monumental. Lillian asks for advice instead of assuming entitlement. Cooking in my reclaimed sanctuary brings a peace I never knew possible. Sometimes you have to fight for your space to help others find theirs. I tell a young line cook facing similar pressure from her family. My story becomes her permission to set boundaries. Plans for my own small restaurant take shape on paper, truly mine this time. Lillian offers genuine support without assuming involvement. We've found our separate paths, linked by newfound respect. Late tonight, I experiment with a new recipe, my movements confident in the kitchen that nearly cost me everything. Grandmother's knife gleams under the pendant light, a symbol of true legacy. My phone lights up with Lillian's text. "Got the promotion. Thanks for showing me how to stand on my own." I smile, realizing the truth. The recipe for family healing requires the hardest ingredient of all, truth. But once added, everything else falls perfectly into place.